Mitchell. She now has 13 on 6 of 7 shooting. Mitchell trying to get after it, and it's going to be McDonald 2-on-1 with Howard. Howard finishes. Good decision.
I love Paige to death. Do not get me wrong. I think, I think she's a hell of a player and, would love to play with her one day. But those refs were giving her every freaking whistle last night. You literally couldn't touch her. Couldn't touch her. And that shit is so annoying to me. And if you're going to do that, then give it to our guards.
It started with silence. Not the kind that follows a win. Not even the kind that comes after a blowout loss. This silence was heavier. It lingered in the arena after the final buzzer, as fans looked at each other like they'd just witnessed something they weren't supposed to see. The scoreboard said 81-80, a 1-point difference. But those who watched knew better. This wasn't just a loss. It was a collapse that revealed something much darker about the Indiana Fever, about their coach, and about the league itself. How did it come to this? How does a team with talent, with momentum, with the energy of a home crowd, walk away beaten by the Dallas Wings, a team that, until this night, couldn't even scrape together back-to-back wins? From the opening minutes, it was clear something was off. The whistle, sharp and frequent, seemed to cut only one way. A hand check here, ignored. A shove there, overlooked. Sophie Cunningham so much as brushed her opponent. And the refs were ready to blow the call. But when Paige Buchers, celebrated and spotlighted, extended a full-arm push to create separation, the floor fell silent. Play on. No whistle. No accountability. Fans in the stands erupted in disbelief. Even Caitlin Clark, sidelined but still the heartbeat of the team, could be seen clapping at a referee in frustration, a sarcastic, cutting applause that said everything words could not. But this game wasn't only stolen by the refs. That would be too easy a story. No, the cracks went deeper, all the way to the sidelines. Stephanie White, head coach of the Fever, had her chance to change the ending. With less than a minute left, her team down by a single point, Natasha Howard pulled down a rebound. The kind of possession that decides everything. This is where great coaches earn their legacy. You call a timeout. You steady your team. You draw up the play. Instead, White let the seconds drip away like sand through an hourglass. 15 seconds. 10. Then, with barely 2 ticks on the clock, the whistle for timeout finally came. And by then, the only play left was a prayer. It wasn't just the ending. All night, her decisions added weight to a team already carrying too much. Lexi Hull, who had shown flashes of life earlier in the season, barely saw the floor. Rotations felt random, mismatched, as if pulled from a deck of shuffled cards. The offense slowed to a crawl, predictable and stiff, while Dallas, desperate, hungry, and very beatable, found ways to punch holes in Indiana's defense. Every time momentum started to shift, every time the Fever found a rhythm, the coaching box stayed silent. No adjustment, no counter, just waiting, hoping, watching. And that's the part that stings most. Because this wasn't the first time. Fans have seen this movie before. Clark's absence for nearly 20 games should have forced White to evolve, to build a system that could survive without its brightest star. But instead of adapting, she kept the same rigid framework, asking players to fit into roles that didn't match their strengths. It wasn't coaching to win. It was coaching not to lose. And that difference is fatal. Now, let's be clear. The referees were atrocious. The inconsistencies weren't subtle, and they weren't harmless. Each missed call tilted the floor a little more toward Dallas. Every questionable whistle cut the Fever's momentum just as it began to build. By the fourth quarter, the pattern wasn't just obvious. It was blatant. A push that should have been called offensive suddenly became a defensive foul. A no call in the paint turned into a turnover the other way. Fans weren't imagining things. They were watching a game where the rules shifted depending on the jersey. But here's the twist. While Stephanie White stood in front of microphones after the game and pointed her finger at the officials, she never once looked inward. Not a word about the timeout fiasco. Not a whisper about rotations. Not even a hint of accountability for the choices that kept her team from stealing back a win they had every chance to claim. For some fans, that was harder to swallow than the officiating itself. Because if the head coach won't admit her part in the loss, how can the team ever grow? And this is where the story widens. Because it's not just about one game. It's about what the WNBA is becoming. This league is on the rise. With record audiences, massive media deals, and stars like Caitlin Clark. drawing in fans who never watched women's basketball before. But with that growth comes pressure. Pressure to make the product feel fair, professional, trustworthy. Nights like August 12th don't just bruise a single team. They crack the faith of fans who want to believe. What they're watching is real competition, not chaos decided by bad whistles and sideline blunders. Think about it. How many times can supporters watch phantom fouls, missed calls, and coaches refusing to adapt before they start turning off the TV? A $2.2 billion media deal means nothing if the league's credibility slips. In this game, one single point loss to a struggling Wings team felt like more than a loss. It felt like a warning. And yet, even inside that warning, there's a bigger story unfolding. Indiana has talent. Boston, Mitchell, and Clark, when she's healthy, brings a level of star power no coach should be able to waste. This roster is built for playoff runs, not excuses. But leadership sets the tone. And when the tone is denial, when accountability never crosses the coach's lips, the culture turns sour. That's how seasons are lost. Not on the scoreboard, but in the locker room. Fans watching from home know this. That's why the reaction online wasn't just anger at the refs. It was frustration at a pattern. A feeling that, under Stephanie White, the Fever are learning the wrong lessons. When a coach blames everything but herself, the message to the team becomes clear: your effort doesn't matter if the world is against us. But that's not how champions are built. Champions are forged in accountability, in the belief that no matter what the refs do, no matter how unfair the breaks, we will find a way. Indiana didn't show that belief, and their coach didn't lead it. But here's the question that lingers. How long can this go on? How many more one-point heartbreaks? How many more games where the bench stays silent until it's too late? If the Fever want to build something real, if the WNBA wants to keep its momentum, someone has to change. Either the league fixes its officiating or Indiana fixes its leadership. If neither happens, the Fever's promise will wither before it ever blooms. And maybe that's the most painful part, because you can feel the potential. You can see the moments when this team fights back, when the energy rises, when the comeback is on. Against Dallas, they clawed back from 17 points down, roaring on a 19-3 run. The crowd on its feet, the players locked in, belief flooding the arena. That's what made the ending so gutting. All of that heart, wasted by indecision. All of that fight, erased by a delayed whistle and a missed timeout. The final buzzer didn't just mark a one-point loss. It marked the moment fans realized something deeper. That until accountability reaches the sidelines, no amount of talent will be enough. And if the WNBA doesn't fix its foundation, fair officiating, sharp coaching, and the trust of its fans, then games like this will keep happening. Shadows over what should be a bright future. This wasn't just a loss. It was a message. The question now is who's listening. And if you want more deep dives into the stories behind the highlights, the untold truths, the breakdowns, the moments the cameras almost missed, make sure you subscribe. Because this season, the biggest stories aren't just happening on the scoreboard. They're happening behind it.